Wake your kids, phone your neighbors. In just a moment, I'm going to do something that no liberal has ever done. And no, I don't mean go to Trader Joe's and leave without buying hummus or signing some stupid petition that would protect polar bears from gluten, peanuts, and Sean Hannity throwing his poop. What I'm going to do is, I'm going to say something good about President Trump. What? I know what you're saying. How is that even possible? Well, because unlike the pundits on TV, like at Fox, where Trump is seen as the living embodiment of Christ, or at the very least, the guy that owns the manger where Christ lives, and the casino where Christ plays craps, and only bets the don't come line, I am able to keep two competing ideas in my mind simultaneously. Meanwhile, over at CNN, if Trump were drawn with any fewer dimensions, he'd appear like this on screen. At CNN, Trump is viewed as a vile, traitorous man-baby whose tiny hands only look large when compared to his near non-existent intelligence. You see, I possess a very rare skill that more people should try and hone. I can compartmentalize my thoughts, and things are not mutually exclusive. I love my wife, and she drives me nuts. Steven Seagal is an awful actor, and Under Siege is a great movie. Just because I hate Katy Perry's new song doesn't mean I'm going to stop singing Firework. And by the way, I do not sing it ironically. That song lifts me up. It is helium for my tears. When I feel like a plastic bag drifting through the wind, that song reminds me that you just got to ignite the light and let it shine. Where was I? Oh yes, that Trump will be impeached for colluding with Russia and obstructing justice doesn't mean that while he was in Saudi Arabia earlier this week, he didn't deliver a pretty forceful message about terrorism. That Trump lies doesn't also mean he didn't tell a large gathering of Arab leaders something that they needed to hear out loud from an American president. And just to be clear, just because Trump said one good thing does not mean he is not also the most dangerous, treasonous American president ever, nor does saying one good thing mitigate the Oval Office dumpster fire that he has created. So with that said, on May 22nd, in a speech to 100-plus Arab leaders while in Saudi Arabia, the president said it was now time for Arab leaders to drive out and to take responsibility for extremists and terrorists who foment their radical ideology and find safe harbor among the nations in the Middle East.
Better future is only possible if your nations drive out the terrorists and drive out the extremists. Drive them out.
Trump is right. America alone cannot defeat ISIS, Al-Qaeda, and Hamas.
But the nations of the Middle East cannot wait for American power to crush this enemy for them.
And that if Arab leaders want to see Arab children grow up in peace and prosperity, it is time that they forcefully dealt with the horrific cancer that has taken root and is being mobilized from Arab towns, schools, and mosques in the Middle East.
The nations of the Middle East will have to decide what kind of future they want for themselves, for their country, and frankly, for their families and for their children.
But just like a tweaker down to his last meth rock, Trump's positive vibes did not last long and were followed by a not unexpected horrible crash. Because as we learned watching a meeting with Israeli officials, the moron-in-chief knows about as much about geography as he knows about running an online university.
Secretary of State has done an incredible job. We just got back from the Middle East. We just got back to Saudi Arabia.
A day later, Trump doubled down on stupid. His message to the Manchester terrorists had all the ferocity of a newly spayed kitten wearing one of those plastic after-surgery cones around its neck.
So many young, beautiful, innocent people living and enjoying their lives murdered by evil losers in life.
Here's the thing. People tend to see the world in black and white. Trump is either entirely good or entirely bad, when in reality, the proportions are actually quite different. In reality, Trump is 99.997% awful, 0.02% good, and 74% batshit crazy. However, the reason the media on both the left and the right paints Trump with such a wide brush is that people, us viewers, are generally incapable of holding contradictory ideas simultaneously, that Trump is awful and slightly less awful. Science calls this cognitive dissonance. In psychology, cognitive dissonance is the mental discomfort, the psychological stress that people experience who simultaneously hold two or more contradictory beliefs, ideas, or values. The human brain seeks to optimize its performance, and one way it does so is that the brain seeks psychological consistency. So when the brain encounters inconsistency, inputs like, say, Trump awful and Trump did something kind of good, it looks to alleviate that uncomfortable feeling you have as a result of these competing and opposite ideas. The brain does this by either changing, justifying, or by being indifferent to the existential contradiction that is inducing this mental stress. In other words, if you hated Trump on Sunday, no speech about terrorism, no matter how powerful, no matter how elegant, will convince you to climb aboard the Trump train to Make America Great Again town ever. Conversely, if you loved Trump on Sunday, no revelation that he tried to obstruct justice on Monday, gave secrets away on Tuesday, or colluded with the Russians on Wednesday is going to get you to suddenly get off the Trump train and to get onto Hillary's solar-powered golf cart that emits the smell of fresh-made waffles instead of ozone-depleting CO2. Anyway, that's it for this episode of Be Less Stupid. If you enjoyed it, please share it on social media. And remember, you can see our first 50 episodes free at factbox.tv. That's factbox.tv. I'll see you next time.